Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Yeah, kind of subdued tonight. Not really. It's going to be an exciting show, but I really didn't know how to open it, so I just was really low. What's going on? It's March. It's what? March 9th, 2022. It's funny. I was thinking about the date. I was talking to my dad about dates earlier today. Um, and I'm doing fine. Going to be talking about that. It's the live show. Of course, it's Wednesday. It has to be the live show, although we have had some live shows on different days. But 99.99% of the time occurs on Wednesdays, hump day. Hence the camel jokes that occur on this day in the discussion group. I am, as you can see, I am here in Clearwater Beach. Of course, I was here last week as well. And everything's going pretty smoothly. Let's see who's in here. Valerie, I know you have a question that you'd like answered tonight, and I think I can do that. Let me do something real quickly here. Should have plugged this other computer in. I hope it doesn't die in the next 2 hours. We'll see. Screaming. Good evening. Hello, Karen. K-Dog. I know K-Dog. I know K-Dog. I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about UK Dog before we're all done tonight. Cherie, moderator Cherie, thank you for taking care of anybody that may get out of line tonight. Hello, Charlotte and Kathy. Look at all the green. Some of you, maybe if you were watching in the maybe in the rerun, maybe tomorrow or something. If you're wondering, what is that green? Why are their names green? What is that? What is that? What are those little, what's the little symbol beside that? Well, all of those people are members of the new membership program that Unfound has started here. And you will see that a lot of other channels are doing as well, where for a very small fee for Unfound, for our membership, it's only $2.99 a month. And for that, you get a daily update video every day, telling all of you what's going on in the Unfound world, which I'm having a lot of fun with that. Today, I did it from my car over at Taylor Lake. You also get the Unfound Now episodes come out a week early for all of you. You get a preview of the interview for that week, and I'll be posting that tomorrow for all members. And also, you get a little snapshot of the blog that I've written at Patreon. Now, the thing is, many of you I know, because I know some of these names, they already get to read the blog in total at Patreon anyway, because they're Patreon supporters over there at patreon.com/Unfound Podcast. But, you know, you don't, if you don't want to get on Patreon, you can just be a member here on YouTube, which is totally fine. But those are the 4 things those people get, members get right now. But I can tell you right now, I'm going to probably be adding to it a little bit with some ideas. And, you know, maybe that will also increase the membership. Of course, it's very new thing that I've introduced. So I hope you will take advantage of it. Hello, Kathy and Twinkle. What's going on? Good to see you, Twinkle. Yeah, Charlotte, Boston. Hello, everyone. It's almost spring, but wouldn't you know that it snowed here today? It snowed in Ohio and Pennsylvania today. I know, Boston. I was talking to my dad. He told me, I'm jealous of your weather. It was nice today, Boston, but it was a little windy. And I think we're going to be getting some cooler weather and some rain. And yeah, K-Dog is famous now, and we're going to be talking about that. Sup, Jill? Boston says you got to figure the membership out. Well, all you got to do, Boston, you're going to, I think, have to do it from a computer, because there's something about the membership stuff that doesn't quite go with certain phones right now. And in fact, I can even tell you today, after I did the video, the update video for members, I could upload it, but I couldn't mark it as membership. So I had to leave it unlisted. And then when I got home, I could do it on my computer, mark it as a membership video. But it's right down here, Boston, the join button, and would love to see you in there. It's only $2.99 a month. That's what, 10 cents a day? Come on now. Crystal, hit the like button, everyone. Yes, please do. Hit the thumbs up. You know the live show is going to be good. Many of you are here, have been here before. You know it's a solid program. It's solid programming. I've brought a lot to talk about tonight. In fact, I'll be surprised if I get through all of it. And yeah, please hit the thumbs up button. That helps us with the algorithms. And Twinkle's talking to Boston. Hello, Crystal. Yeah, it's snowing right now in New Hampshire. Wow. I'm at the computer now. Then just join up. Boston would love to see you in there. And you'll see what I'm talking about. Charlene, hi, everyone. It's 2:04 a.m. here in Ireland, but I wouldn't miss that. Look at the green heart. You know, I am 67% Irish, Charlene. I knew I'd need help. Don't we all need help, Boston? Don't we all? Yeah. All right. And screaming. I just read that Ed's mother was an extra in the funeral home scene of Silence of the Lambs. What, is that true, Ed? It is true. And if you'd like to I will certainly talk about that before we're done tonight, screaming. I can absolutely talk about that. That is true. Absolutely 100% true. But Boston, welcome. There she is. Boston actress, welcome to the only level for now, I guess. Boston, thank you. Yeah, you did it. You did it. And I think you should have immediate access to it, Boston. So if you want to check that out after we're done tonight, please do. You'll have a bunch of update videos to watch and little snippet of the blog and some things. So thank you for doing that. Appreciate that. Boston actress signing up for YouTube membership using the button below. Okay. I just got to start here. I just want to start once again to say that Unfound and its assistants, and I'm guessing, I'm not going to speak for everybody, but most of you, Ukraine, we want you to know that we're with you. I really don't know if Unfound has any listeners in Ukraine. I know, of course, it travels all over the world. And in fact, you're seeing here, Charlene's from Ireland. We know that we get the real in here, the real Capelia. She's from, I think it's a she, from Australia. We've had people tune in from Hong Kong, all over the world. So I would not be surprised if at least one person, a Ukrainian, has listened to Unfound at least once. And so if you can hear me out there, if you're still being able to access the internet, we want you to know that we support you. And it's just, it's horrible what's going on. All right. I just want you to know that. So I wanted to start with that. I just said something about it last week, and it's just one of those things that you can't do something like this without mentioning. It's like, I think last week I said it's like the elephant in the room, that you just can't do a show like this without taking some time to acknowledge there's something really, really horrible going on in the world right now. And, you got to talk about it. Just something. And I'm going to stay out of the politics of it. All I know is I want it to stop. That's all I know. That's all I know. And I think that's all most people know. They just want it to stop. Not do it, not necessarily for, there's plenty of ways that peace can be attained in this world. And, one way is for, a bunch of people just to lay down. And that's not the kind of peace we're talking about. All right. We're talking about real peace, not where just some people give up and give in to another group. We're not talking about that kind of peace. All right. We're talking about a different kind of peace where the good people win. That's the kind of peace we're talking about. Charlene says, and I knew I loved you. Oh, Charlene. Okay, thank you. I've never been to Ireland. I'm not a big traveler. Both of my brothers and my sister have been there, and they loved it. They had nothing but great things to say about your country. You're very fortunate. Twinkle says, those are not in the think tank. You're missing out on the fun evening. I encourage you to join. Thank you, Twinkle. Yep, you're here. The real Crystal, Twinkle, Boston, Lord. I'm better at listening than typing. That's why this is a show. Yes. Okay. The real says, I'm at the pub using their Wi-Fi. I accidentally left the portable modem at home. Well, if you're at the pub, the real, and maybe you're going to be having a couple brews tonight, maybe this show could get really interesting. Yeah, Twinkle, it is. Like I said, I just don't want to get too deep into it. I just want to give a shout out to those people that, at least speaking for myself and all of you, as an American, I know some of you aren't. The real isn't, of course. Charlene's in here, but for us Americans, we, seeing everything, and we all think it's disgusting. The real says, I have a steak dinner in front of me. Dang. What kind of steak, the real? What kind of steak did you get? Gotta know. Big steak fan. Moving on. Once again, give this video a thumbs up as you're watching. You know it's going to be good. So just do it right now. Disc golf. Played my first round of disc golf since I won back in January. Of course, that, the next weekend is when I flew up to be with my dad for 38 days. Yes, I did count them. And then I've come back and I've been very busy. But got out today with my brother Brian, went over to Taylor. I would not say that I played especially well. I felt pretty rusty, but it was good to be out there for the first time in a while. I'm scheduled to play a couple one-day tournaments in April, so I'm hoping those are going to happen. But other than that, I don't know when the next big tournament is that I'm going to play. Just kind of trying to watch my expenses a little bit. Trying to, get a little leaner, meaner. Not really meaner. You know what I'm saying. They just happen to rhyme. Leaner and meaner with my expenses. And of course, everybody's looking at the stock market. Nobody wants to look at their 401k plans and everything. So I'm kind of in the same boat as many of you. So I thought this was a good time to really look at my expenses and saying, what am I really doing here? So one of those big expenses over the course of a year, I don't even want to disgust you with telling you how much money I spent on disc golf last year for a sport that's supposed to be cheap. It wasn't. So I need to get that under control a little bit. So there's that. But it was good getting out there today with my brother Brian, and he played okay. It was really windy, really, really windy, but it otherwise was a beautiful day. I gained a couple pounds when I was up in Pennsylvania. You should know my dad is a spectacular cook. I wouldn't say he's a fancy cook or anything, but he's definitely has skills in the kitchen. So there's that. And also my dad likes to go out to breakfast, and, being that he's not able to drive right now, that's one of the things that really is, getting to him. And I understand that he likes to get out in the morning and he has people he likes to go see, and he's not able to do that right now. Well, while I was there, I would say 5 out of 7 days of the week, we were going out to breakfast somewhere. King's, Eaton Park, couple like private places, privately owned places, not corporation places. And I had quite a few omelets and pancakes and toast and all sorts of stuff. And so I knew getting back here to Florida, I was going to have to cut back a little bit, and I have. And today I woke up at 176.6 pounds, which is pretty good. Pretty good. And I can tell just looking at myself that I look a little better than I did a month ago. So Yeah, we definitely feel so bad for Ukraine, Charlotte says. Everybody, once again, if you're wondering what that little disc golf and the little thing is for people who become members, they get to use those little emojis in their posts because they're members. So I appreciate that. And I should probably add some more emojis as well. I just came up with those off the top of my head. Twinkle says 38 days and how many hours with dad? Almost all of them, Twinkle. I mean, not hanging out with him, but um, I really didn't go anywhere by myself. I went to see my buddy Brad one evening, Twinkle. But other than that, I was with him the whole time. Now, as far as, really, father-son time, I would give him like 3 or 4 hours a day while I was there. I mean, we'd go out, would drive around, maybe we'd go up to Slippery Rock or would go here, would go there, go shopping, which usually, breakfast and that takes a few hours. And then I would watch Jeopardy and Family Feud with him in the evenings. And then, we watched a couple movies. We watched Shane. We watched Planet of the Apes, which my dad didn't understand. So I gave him a lot of hours while I was there, father-son time. I just did not spend much time by myself at all. I was in the other room, but like going, him at home and I'm going somewhere. That only happened maybe twice when I went to see my buddy Brad. And then on that one last night, I went up to the clubhouse and played trivia. So he got a lot of sun time. The Real says a rib fillet cooked to medium. That's the way it should be cooked. With veggies and mashed potatoes, Diane sauce, but I'll be drinking is Schweppes lemonade. Oh, so no getting drunk for the Real tonight. That's fine with me. I don't drink at all. The Real, that sounds like the type of meal Ed Densel would eat. So I give you the thumbs up. If I know all of you are giving me the thumbs up, I'm going to give a thumbs up to the Real's meal tonight. And that rhymes. Twinkle, that's great, Ed. As you know, you were making good memories. Maybe. Maybe, Twinkle. Maybe. So yeah, I've lost a few pounds, feeling a little lighter on my feet. And being up there for 38 days, you get in a routine, and I was living out of a suitcase and all of that. The Real says it's too early in the day to get on the terps. That must be some Australian term. You're going to probably have to explain that to all us naive Americans, The Real, but I love to know what the terps means. Moving on, gas and food. I actually did the double dip today. I actually went food shopping and got gas. And oh my gosh. It's of course a part of what is going on in Ukraine. And but the inflation, of course, has hit the United States due to COVID and all this money that was thrown into the economy. Stimulus, I guess, is one word you could put it. A lot of money out there driving prices up, and it's now coming back. So it's a double whammy here of inflation and some, of course, supply problems and gas problems and everything. And I think when I got gas today, I think it was $4.29 a gallon. And I know many other places it's much higher than that. I know in Pennsylvania always has high gas prices because they tax the crap out of it. So I know it's way higher in Pennsylvania right now. I know in California, of course, in many places, it's higher right now. Nevada, where I used to live, it's higher right now. It's one of those things I didn't realize the gas was so expensive in Las Vegas until I left. So, I don't know. But here in Florida, I think we're just around the national average. And I got gas right down the street. It might be a couple cents more because it's out here near the beach. It might be a couple cents more than if you were to go inland somewhere, but whatever. But yeah, it's crazy. So I know that when I went, once again, a combination of that and kind of watching my expenses, I had a list of what I was buying today at Publix, and I was not deviating from that. So I was looking at, yep. Because, if you go there, if you don't have a plan, it's easy, okay, I'm only going to spend $60. And before you walk out, you're spending like 110. Very easy to do. Lord knows I've gotten caught up in that a few times. So just trying to get some of those things under control. I really took a look at my expenses for 2021 and I was like, this is crazy. So there's that. I feel very fortunate that my car gets really good gas mileage. It's a 2016 Hyundai Sonata. It's not uncommon for me to get 38 miles to the gallon out on a trip. And I will be taking a trip next week. So that's going to be a little ding to the pocketbook for gas where I'm going, but that's just the way it is. It could be, if I had an SUV or some sports car or something, who knows how much money I might spend going where I'm going to be going. So I'm really happy that I have a fuel efficient car right now. Now, I know you could have electric vehicle, but of course the problem with electric vehicles still, the trip I'm going to be going on is 280 miles one way. Well, there's hardly any electric vehicle out there that you can go for 560 miles without having to charge it. So it's still one of the problems I think that they're going to eventually have to figure out with electric vehicles is that they're fine if you're just driving around town and you can come home, plug it in, but you drive from Florida to Pennsylvania, I can make it only stopping once for gas. I can do it in 17 hours, only stopping once for gas. You have an electric vehicle, 300 some miles, got to plug it in. And how long does that take? Another 100 miles, plug it in, or 400 miles or whatever they are, plug it in again. How long does that charge take? So if you're a person who likes to go on trips driving and drive a long way, you got to have a gas car. I couldn't imagine driving an electric car from Pennsylvania to Las Vegas. I've made that drive a few times back in the day. So I feel very fortunate that I get like 38 miles to the gallon on a trip. Of course, a lot less than that around town, but I really don't drive that much, which is also a nice thing. Gas prices go up. I don't drive a lot anyway. In fact, I will tell you that I went out on Friday to meet K-Dog, and I'm going to talk about that. But I came home on Friday. I didn't leave my place until today. The whole weekend spent inside, Monday, Tuesday, and then today I went out, played disc golf. So when you don't drive, I guess you really don't care what the gas prices are. But the gas prices can be reflected in the price of food because of the travel, the trucking, and all that stuff for sure. Turpentine. Okay, terps. That's funny. Okay, the terps. Gotcha. Spleen Girls, I can't wait to join. Just waiting for our financials to get better. Okay, Spleen. That's no problem. I got it. Thank you for considering it. Charlotte, Ed, I saw a story the other day online about carousel horses, and it said that most of the early carousel horses were made by the Dental Company from Pennsylvania. Are you related to them? I am. I don't know if I've ever talked about this on a live show before. Yes, the Dental Carousel Company was a very famous company, 1800s into the 1900s, made a lot of very famous carousels. The carousel, for example, at Coney Island in New York, Dental Carousel. There is a Dental Carousel horse in the Smithsonian Institute or institution or whatever they call it in Washington, D.C. In fact, when I went there on a school trip in 7th grade, I took a picture of it. There is a Dental Carousel in the Smithsonian. There's dental carousels all over the United States, the world, maybe that too. Kennywood in Pittsburgh, that's a local amusement park, dental carousel. Yes, so this has never come up before. And in fact, in my dad's office, in Pennsylvania, he has a bunch of miniature lookalikes of dental carousel animals. Yes, that's right. Now, you should know that is not my direct descendants. Actually, my ancestors going back to Edward Kirkpatrick Densel from like the middle of the 1800s, they were farmers. That's what they did. But it's the same family. Of course, the Densel name is not that common. So, yeah, we're all going to be related one way or another. But I will tell you, there are Densels who are in Pennsylvania, Western Pennsylvania. And then there is a Densel group that lives in California. And technically, they are the direct descendants of the carousel makers. I am not, but we're all related. All came from Germany, or was it Denmark, way back late 1700s, early 1800s. So, Charlotte, that's fantastic that you ran into that. I'm going to have to tell my dad that somebody asked me about that because he takes great pride in that. And I actually wrote a paper about Densel carousels, I think, in high school. So, yeah. And you have to realize our last name used to be spelled like Denzel Washington, Denzel. And the T didn't get put in until everybody moved to the United States. Why that T got put in there, I don't know. But yes, those are, I am related to them. Charlotte, fantastic question. Good for you, Charlotte. But yeah, very, very famous carousel makers. Of course, carousels have kind of gone out of fashion, but they never made any plastic. It was all wood, carved it, everything. In fact, if you go to Seaside Heights, of course, maybe with Hurricane Sandy, I forget what happened there, but the carousel that was at Seaside Heights in New Jersey, Densel carousel. Charlie says, those are flags on my phone, but I see they are initials on my laptop. Huh. Interesting, Cherie. Nevada is like $5, $5.50 a gallon. Yeah, I know, Valerie. It's, it's just, yeah. Waters your eyes. I get it. Boston says, when is the next speaking engagement? Going to get to that, Boston. I get around 30 miles per gallon with my Mazda 6. Shira is her name. That's not too bad, Twinkle. Boston says, I feel bad for anyone heating with oil right now. Yeah, right. Ouch. Shira, the Princess of Power. Yes, that is so neat. It is neat. The carousel stuff is neat, for sure. Absolutely. So cool. Yeah. That is true. I guess I've never mentioned it before. I don't even remember mentioning it before. So yeah, that is true. That's true. So the next time you go to an amusement park that has a carousel, usually it says like on the part in the middle, there'll be a plaque or something. Check it out. See if it's a Densel carousel. If it is, that means that it's old. If you see, let's put it this way. If you see that the animals and everything are made out of plastic, it's not going to be a Densel carousel. All the Densel carousels had wood animals or horses and seahorses and whatever else, tigers, whatever they make carousel animals to be. They were all wood, never any plastic. Moving on, this time of the year is always neat time because of the Academy Awards coming up. Not that I ever watch them, but it's the best time of the year for movies on Turner Classic Movies. They just play the crap out of the best movies that were ever made. Ben-Hur was on today. As I was working, I watched it, got to watch the famous chariot scene towards the end. Spectacular. Just so good. And the weird thing is, I don't really consider myself to be an overtly religious guy or anything. I do believe that Jesus walked the earth and all that, but I think I'm probably very moderate in my practicing of, my religion. But Ben-Hur, which of course is a religious movie, the Ten Commandments, love both. They just happen to both have Charlton Heston in them. I love both of those movies. They're so epic. It's just fantastic. They just don't make movies like that anymore. But it's so good. So good. So if you have TCM, Turner Classic Movies, you should be tuning in. And I've actually been going forward, seeing what they're actually going to be lining up and playing. The Paper Chase is going to be on. Kramer versus Kramer is coming up. So if you're looking, I know everybody thinks, well, you got to watch Netflix, you got to watch Disney Plus, you got to watch Hulu and all that. Turner Classic Movies, to me, it doesn't get any better than the programming they do during the Academy Awards season. It just does not get any better than that. So keep your eye out, and we'll probably keep doing that until the Academy Awards ceremony is played, and then they'll go back probably to playing. Once again, the way I think of Turner Classic Movies, they play some good movies, and then they'll play some movies that I've never heard of, and maybe aren't even that good, but they're having some sort of, the movies are linked some particular actor that's the night of Gregory Peck. And Gregory Peck was in some good movies, and then he was in some, bad movies too. But during this time, pretty much you're going to be guaranteed that any time you turn on there, it's going to be something good, and they don't play any repeats. So be watching out for that. Kathy says, I watched all of Ben-Hur today. Me too, Kathy. Love this movie. Always have. Love Charlton Heston. Soylent Green, his people. Twinkle. Shh. Maybe people haven't seen it yet. Cherie says, I just watched Kramer versus Kramer this past weekend. Did you? It's been a while since I saw that. Once again, I realized it got some Academy Award nominations. Not the kind of movie that usually I'm going to be into, but it's certainly a well-known one. Certainly, and it's well-respected. All right. And once again, if you're watching, please give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to do that. You know what you're supposed to do. All right, moving on. Let's get to the items of the show. Once again, I have a ton to talk about tonight. I'm thinking I'm not going to get to all of it. But the timing, I guess, was just poor last week because we had this live show, and then it was the next day that this news about Sherry Papini broke. That we now know that it was a hoax. And we know where she went, and we know who she was with. And of course, I guess there's going to be a trial. And, we'll see how that goes. I think it's probably a long way off at this point. We'll see if she wants to. And it seems to me, and if you've watched this video, which is on this channel right now, I did a blog on it because there was no regular episode last Friday. I thought, perfect timing. This breaks. I'll write the Patreon blog this weekend about this, and I'll make it free so people can see what actually goes on at Patreon if they are not a member. And I enjoyed writing it. It was 5,000 words, and I didn't do it just because it's a popular story. It's been popular since it happened back in 2016. I think it helps all of us who specialize in disappearances to really look at what happened. Why did she do this? Where did she go? How did she set this all up? And I'm not going to get into everything that I wrote. If you want to listen to that or read it, you can go to patreon.com/Unfound Podcast. It's free. Or you can just listen to it on this channel once again after we're done tonight. But, so I'm not going to get into all that. It's 33 minutes long, and I'm get very in-depth looking at it. But I think the most important point that can be made is that this just shows you how difficult it can be if somebody wants to walk off. The reason I say that, and I talk about that, but I really, really want to mention that here in this live show tonight. It's very important to me because we always think, what would it take for somebody to walk out of their life? What would it take for John Smith, Jane Doe to wake up one day and say, you know what? I'm out of here. They're not suicidal or anything. It's just, they just want to change their life. Maybe they're married and they have they don't want to, have a divorce or, saying goodbye to their kids or kids getting split up in the divorce, whatever it may be. And they think, you know what? This will just be a lot easier if I just take off. And I go from California, I'm going to move to Florida where I know that I'm not going to run into any people who I know. I'll figure out some way how to make some money. And, maybe I'll look on the internet once I get down there. I'll go to a public library with Wi-Fi or something, or use a public computer and figure out, how can I get a new name, a new social security number? Is there, kind of a backdoor way to do it? We sometimes think about that for the disappearances that we cover on Unfound. But I think Sherry Papini coming back just shows you how hard it is to leave. Even for a woman like her, or a person like her, guys too, who seems to be very self-centered and very into herself, and even, let's just say, maybe a little crazy. The reason I say this is because look at it. She had everything. While she was gone, when she decided to take off and her ex-boyfriend picked her up, she had everything. She had a place to stay. She had some guy who obviously was into her to the point of, of course, I think infatuation, just going along with what she wanted to do, breaking her nose and everything. He was obviously providing her with food, with drink. She probably was watching Netflix, had the internet, everything else. She could follow everything that was going on out in the world while she was missing, reading all the news reports and everything. And she still chose to come back to her life. And not only that, not only did she choose to come back, but she wanted to come back so badly that she broke her nose, lost all that weight, chopped her hair off, and she either allowed herself to be branded or branded herself, burning herself. That's how bad she wanted to come back, even though it was her plan in the first place to leave. And so this is one more of those reasons, a very good example why when it comes to thinking about people who left their lives and everything, it happens. But it is so, so rare, and it's so difficult to do because of the draw of your emotions and everything, bringing you back, even for somebody like Sherry Papini. So what's everybody saying? That's some crazy with Sherry being branded herself. Yeah, with somebody. Yeah, she probably does. Great audio, and Sherry, thank you, Boston. You're very kind. Suzanne, thank you, Ed, for everything you do for Unfound. Suzanne, it's what I do. You're very welcome. Coffee, it would have been easier like in the 70s or before. Coffee, I think you have a point there. I think there are, Coffee, I think we could go either way on that. I think that certainly in the 60s and 70s, even into the 80s, easier to fake documents. I can remember like my first driver's license was like this little piece of paper. It was nothing. Now you look at driver's licenses, they have holograms on them and everything else. Got all sorts of numbers, and it's crazy. And why? Because those IDs before that, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, were duped, were copied, were faked. So I think you have it right there that somebody could go to a different state, come up with a different name, maybe even make their own ID. Coffee, I think you have a very strong point on there. The counterpoint to that would be there's a lot of information if you start looking around online about how to fake things. Fake a social security guard. Fake, get a new driver's license with a new name on it. So there's information out there so that you didn't have back in the 70s or 80s because there was no internet. There wasn't as easy a way for people to exchange information. So you're probably in total right, Coffee, but it's probably might not be as big a difference as we might imagine. I can certainly see both sides of it, but I think in total, you probably, I would lean to probably you being right. Debbie says, hard to think about doing that, leaving your life, but people do, but it's rare. But I think in Sherry's case, you can see that people may have ideas about doing that, but then they change their minds. Sheree says, kids will do that to you, make you come right back to reality. Yes. They will. Yes, Christy. Plus, Sherry didn't have to touch her bank account. Yeah, this guy was, I think, more than happy to have her there. I think that we have to have to believe that, he thought that he was going to make out in all this. It's obvious to me he still had a thing for her. He's the one that initiated getting back in contact with her in 2015, not her. She didn't instigate that. He did. And as a guy, I know why we do such things. The Real. By the way, I did send the email about the case I was a witness to. I got it. The Real. Man, that was a long one. I've not had a chance to read it all yet. I did get it. But thank you for that. I got it. And I'm going to read it. But you wrote a lot of words, and I want to make sure that I have time to read it and really, concentrate on it. But I will certainly read it, and I will certainly get back to you when I do real. But thank you. I appreciate that. So Sherry Papini, I think it was also interesting. One more thing, a point I made that I think is important is that another main point is that I still find this amazing. And we did talk about this at the think tank on Sunday night, because we did talk about Sherry Papini, even though we now know what happened. We kind of threw around a lot of different ideas about her and other things. But it is amazing to me that she lost all that weight. She was 87 pounds. She was branded. Her hair was chopped off. Her nose was broken. And still people thought it was a hoax. So then I start thinking, well, what would it have taken for people to not think it was a hoax? As we brought up, I think I brought this up in the in my commentary, and it certainly came up in the think tank. Had she been raped, had there been signs of sexual bruising or something like that, then certainly I think people would have thought it was real. If she had actually been disfigured, like on her face, like somebody actually took a razor to her face and, it would of course heal, but there would be scars or anything. I think people would have been convinced that it was real. But being that even though there's injuries, nobody wants to, go down to 87 pounds. Nobody wants to get branded. Nobody wants to have their nose broken. But it's still amazing that people thought, you know what? I just don't think those injuries are bad enough for me to think that it was real. There's still a part of me. And to me, that's still a fantastic insight into human nature. I don't know why that was, but so many people she was 87 pounds. I don't care. I think it was a hoax. She had her nose broken. I don't care. I think it was a hoax. She was branded. I think it was a hoax. And those people ended up being right. It's amazing. It's just, I don't know. Those types of things about life, I'm just interested in that. So maybe you don't find it as fascinating or as interesting, but so what would have been a bad enough injury for people to all think that it was real? Like I said, I think if she had been facially, not a broken nose, but, scarred or branded across her forehead or something like that, then I think people would have thought it was real. Let's getting back to that. Yeah, it was hard to condense, so I didn't. Yeah, real. I didn't count the words on your email, but it were quite a few. And as a guy who writes a lot of long emails, I appreciate it. Thank you. Good day from Thursday. How's Thursday looking so far? If it doesn't, Thursday's not looking good. Maybe we'll just stay here on Wednesday. Hello, Crafty. Coffee is admitting I thought it was real. Okay, Coffee. I can't blame you. Don't get me wrong. A lot of people believed it was real too. But given her injuries, it's amazing how many people thought it was a hoax. Boston says, I didn't believe it after I heard that she has a history of doing this kind of thing. I don't know if she had a history of running away, though, Boston. She certainly had some things in her past claiming that, she was abused and things, but I don't know anything about running away for days at a time. Yes, hit the button. Crafty says, I have a different name on Patreon, which I am a member of yours. It's a wannabe sleuth. So you are the new person, Crafty. Well, good to see you. New person on Patreon. I did see that, Crafty. So thank you for joining in on Patreon. I deeply appreciate it. I hope you enjoy your time there. I hope you will start taking part in the think tanks. That's probably the biggest thing that I think the people at that level enjoy. And I should say, we're going to be adding some things to that level too. The price will stay the same, but I'm going to be adding some things. So be watching out for those. But Crafty, if you have some time on Sunday evenings at 7:00, would love you to get in the think tank, or if that's an inconvenient time, you can always watch it after. But that's something that only think tank members get. Think tank, patreon.com/Unfound Podcast. Thank you very much, Crafty, for joining in. Debbie, had my nose broken when I was 9 years old. Ouch. She'd do that on purpose. Why would she do that on purpose? Because she thought if she had a broken nose, people would really believe that she was kidnapped. I remember this and I've never bought it ever. Okay. Debbie, I just thought that was 50 years ago. Crafty, yes, thank you. I'm honored to hear. You're amazing. You're very kind, Crafty. Thank you. Boston, she has a history of making up weird stories and will always try to top the last, according to her exes. Boston, I think we always, as I've stated many times on the program, anytime, some ex-husband or ex-wife says something, I think we just have to really temper it. We just can't automatically believe. These guys have all the reasons in the world to lie. All right. I'm not saying they're lying, but, I think we have to look at the source. I think we know enough about her to think that something's not right with her just from knowing what she did. I don't know if I want to, believe that, she did this before or whatever else, and it's coming from an ex-boyfriend or something. Unless it's the ex-boyfriend who actually was with her while she was missing. Crafty, yeah, that's a perfect time. I can't wait now. Okay, Crafty. If you are on Facebook, Crafty, let me know. Send me a message or something, and we'll get you into the very, very, very private think tank group on Facebook. But if you're not on Facebook, you can just go to patreon.com, and I post the link there every Sunday, and you just click on the link, and at 7:00 Eastern time, you come in and start talking with everybody else, and I'll be there. So that's the think tank for the rest of you. Maybe some of you should think about joining the think tank as well. All right, so Sherry Papini, I'm not going to talk about it anymore. I already did a video on it. It's 33 minutes long. If you'd like to, haven't watched it yet or listened to it yet, it's right on this channel, and it's got quite a few views, at least a lot of views for this channel. Moving on, let's take a question. I'm going to take Valerie's question first because she was first in the chat tonight. Question, she goes, random question out of left field. Are there any foods you absolutely will not eat and why? I love this question. I don't know if I've had this question before. Maybe I have, but probably once, but it's been a while. And you should know the Q&A episode, the third annual Q&A episode, or is it the fourth, is coming up in April. So I'm going to be compiling a bunch of questions that I've gotten on this live show and answering them for an episode. So whatever they may be, unfound questions, personal questions, that's coming up in April. I do that once a year just to get it all out of the way. Valerie, are there any foods you absolutely will not eat and why? I'm just going to stick to, you have to remember some things for Valerie and the rest of you. I got some food allergies going on. So there are things that I can't eat that I would love to eat. Strawberries, can't eat them. Not fresh, raw. I think I can eat strawberry jelly or something, but strawberries, chocolate-covered strawberries, can't eat them. Can't eat honeydew, can't eat cantaloupe because I'm allergic to them. If I eat them, I'll get this really itchy throat, and it's just not worth it, even though I love them. I'm also allergic, and this just happened within the last year or 2 years. I'm allergic to sauerkraut, and it's killing me. I love sauerkraut. Can't eat it anymore. So those are some allergy issues that I have with certain foods, and I've discovered that it's a little bit genetic. I've discovered that my biological mother also had some food allergies, just like I do, and I think my sister does too. So those are some things I can't eat because of allergies. Now, I also have some what we call Fodmap problems. There's a certain way that my body processes food that sometimes can give me a lot of gas pains, and my body just does not like to digest certain foods. For example, for a long time, I've known that I can't eat apples. I used to eat apples as a kid all the time. Apple butter, apples off the tree, apple pie, apple this, apple that, all the time, no problems. I got into my 30s, could not eat them anymore because they give me horrendous gas pains. And I'm talking, if I were to eat an apple right now, within a half hour, I would be bent over. Like sharp pains, horrible. And I get that with some other types of food as well, and I'm not going to go through them. So I really have to watch. It's just there's certain vegetables and certain fruits, and there's some other things that I have to be really, really careful on. Okay, really, really careful. Or this is why I've always made the joke, there's so many healthy foods that I can't eat because of this FODMAP problem or this allergy problem, but I can eat chicken wings all day and no problems whatsoever. They'll just go through me like nothing. But if you ask me to eat an apple or a strawberry or many other foods, can't do it. Some other things that I'm not supposed to eat, can't eat onions anymore. Can't eat garlic anymore, as I'm finding out recently. Once again, FODMAP problems, you can look it up. So there's that. So I got a lot of issues there. This is one of these things. You get to be 50, this is what happens. And then on top of that, I think I'm slowly becoming lactose intolerant. And so ice cream, gotta watch. I don't drink regular milk anymore anyway. So I got to watch that. You're probably saying there's not much left. Actually, there is a lot that's still left. Like, for example, I can eat all the meat in the world. Although technically liver is not meat. And I don't like liver, but I can eat all the meat that ever has existed in the world. No problem there. And a lot of vegetables don't give me problems, but some others do. I will give you a perfect example. My dad and I went down to my brother Michael's while I was home, and he and his wife, fantastic cooks, fantastic. And they had this chicken that had onions on top of it. We had asparagus, and we also had like mashed potatoes or something. Now, I'm not supposed to. I ate the onions, paid for it. The asparagus. I love asparagus. Can't eat it. Ate it, paid for it later. The only things I should eat in there were the chicken and the mashed potatoes. So, now on top of everything else, there are certain things that I don't eat because I don't like them that everybody like. And so this is where it probably gets weird. Those other things, food allergies, common, Fodmap problems, common, lactose intolerance, common. Now, having said all that, there are some things that I will not eat because I do not like them that everybody else eats. I don't eat ketchup. Ketchup is nasty. Now, I love tomatoes. I can eat tomatoes. My dad hates tomatoes. He hates cucumbers too. I love cucumbers. I will not eat ketchup. It's disgusting. Don't like the texture of it. Don't like the taste of it. Nothing. I don't care what brand it is, Heinz or whatever else. I won't eat mac and cheese. I know that's like sacrilegious. There's just something about it that really turns me off. It's the texture or something. I don't know. Lasagna. I won't eat lasagna. I love Italian food. Love it. My mother was Italian. Love raviolis. Love spaghetti, even though I shouldn't be eating it once again because it's a fiber thing and I should be staying away from that. So I really have to really, really, really watch it. But I've never had lasagna anywhere that I've liked, whether it's homemade or at a restaurant or whatever, wherever. Don't like lasagna. So those are some of maybe the weird things that I won't eat that everybody else does that I just can't touch. Just cannot touch it. Now, what's everybody saying about this? Christy loves sauerkraut. I do. Oh, man. You don't know what sauerkraut is, Boston? Come on now. Spleen Taco Bell, the only place you can still get gas for $1.39. Yeah, I've seen that joke. That's a good one. Julie says keto is good if you can do it. I have, Julie, I've been on kind of a keto diet for like the last year, but it's hard to stick to it when you're up in Pennsylvania for 38 days and somebody else is cooking for you. But pretty much, I mean, my doctor even told me back in October, he could tell that I changed my diet because my blood levels were so good. They're good usually anyway, but they were even better this past time than they ever have been. Why? Because I changed some of my eating habits, lost some weight and, took a lot of things out of my diet, carbs and things. So I've kind of been on a modified keto diet. So Julie, you're right. I agree. Thank you. Pasta says I tried keto. I failed. My taste seemed to go right along with it, Boston. Christy says I can't stand sushi. I love sushi. But the issue now is it's just too dang expensive. It's just not worth it. Christy says can't eat spaghetti. I shouldn't eat spaghetti, but I love spaghetti. If you put a big bowl of spaghetti like this in front of me, I would eat all of it. Even though I know I'm not supposed to eat it. I'm looking up sauerkraut. I need to buy it. Boston has never heard of sauerkraut. Okay. All right. Not trying to make fun. We all have food that just doesn't work for us, Suzanne said. That's true. It's true. Valerie, I hate mac and cheese. Thank you for that. Okay, me and you, Valerie, till the end. We got a club of two. Club of two. All right. Yeah, heaps of spaghetti. So that answers that question. I hope, Valerie, is that all weird enough for you? You asked me, will not eat and why. There you go. So there's a lot of things that I can't eat. I just can't. And the funny thing is I don't even consider myself to be a very picky eater. That's funny. There's hope for change. Thank you. Thank you for your donation. What There's Hope has done tonight through the super chat button, which I have not mentioned yet. You can hit that little gray square with a $sign in it, and you can contribute to Unfound on this channel monetarily. There's hope for change. Thank you so much. You're very generous. If you're here, you're always donating. There's hope. And I just cannot thank you enough. You know that. Thank you. Christy says sauerkraut is an acquired taste. I guess. Jasmine, late to the show tonight. Hello, everyone. Hello, Jasmine. We were just talking food here, Jasmine. So tell it, Christy. Yes. So tell us how you like it. Yeah. Yeah. There's hope. I love sauerkraut, but it gives me gas. You know what? There's hope. You may have a FODMAP issue. Once again, FODMAP, that has to do with certain the way the body breaks down certain chemicals and things that are actually in the food. You might want to look that up, because for me, I'm allergic to it. I've become allergic. If I eat it, I start coughing and my throat gets all itchy. But for you, it might be a FODMAP problem. Okay. So it's a food show. It's not a live show about missing people and true crime. It's a show about food. Okay. Going back, not really to Sherry Papini, but now that Sherry Papini has been exposed, or we now know what happened there. The one that I'm still thinking about is Missy Beavers. Still thinking about that. In fact, just to move on to that, as many of you know, and I know she's in here tonight, or I know she's listening. She's told me how she listens to this live show on Wednesday nights. But this past Friday, I got to meet a listener. She had told me back at the beginning of February that she and her husband would be in the Tampa area. Would I be interested in meeting up? Of course, I was in Pennsylvania at the time, and I wasn't sure that I would be back by that time or not. But I was. And we met last Friday, and I can just tell you, I had a fantastic time. So, K-Dog, if you're listening tonight, I think you are. I just want you to know I had a fantastic time. Great sitting there. I can't believe we just sat there. Was it over like 2 hours just talking about stuff? I really enjoyed meeting you and your husband, talking to you two. And the listeners should know, we had a plan to meet at a certain place. This place called Slapsticks, right? And we went in there. It was packed. It was loud. It was wall-to-wall people, and they had a waiting list and everything. And we're like, what are we going to do? So they pulled out their phones, and they discovered that there was this deli on the second floor of this business building. You'd never think of it. You wouldn't, no signs, nothing. So, okay, there weren't really many other places around. So we went into this building, went up to the second floor, went down this hallway, and we were passing like offices and all these things. And there was this deli. And we went in there, and it was reasonably priced, and the food was fantastic. And it seemed like this deli really catered to people who lived in this building. They didn't have to go anywhere. They could just come down to the second floor. It was fantastic. There were some people there, but it wasn't crowded. Had a fantastic view looking out into the Tampa River, people paddle boarding and everything. Great time. And seriously, if any of you are planning to come to the Tampa area, let me know. I'd love to meet up. K-Dog will tell you. Love to meet up. Great conversation. She got a free book out of it. I signed it for her. So we just had a fantastic time. But the reason I'm bringing this up now is we talked about Missy Beavers' murder while we were sitting there. And we, of course, were talking about Sherry Papini because that news had just broken the day before. And I think I had brought up, now that that's resolved, my mind is still really on Missy Beavers' murder. And so we talked about that for a little bit. So that's what I'm telling all of you. Now that Sherry Papini, we know she's a hoaxer. Now to the forefront of one that, outside, of course, of all of Unfound's cases, this is the one. Missy Beavers' murder is the one that I would like to see be solved. I really want to know, was that the killer a man or a woman? Was Missy in there just wrong place or wrong time, or was she targeted? That's what I would say. Once again, outside of all of Unfound's disappearances getting solved, this would be my first pick for any murder or disappearance outside of what we've covered on Unfound. So we had a good, K-Dog and I had a good discussion about that. And she had her ideas and I have my ideas. So I had that written in my notes. So there you go. Boston says, I love sour pickles. I read that it tastes sour, so maybe I'll love it. Yeah, sauerkraut is sour. That's right. Julie says, Polish sausage tastes good with, the thing is, Julie, once again, it's one of the Polish sausage. Not a big fan of it. Not a big fan. I love sausage, but, like you get with like breakfast. But Polish sausage, which is just a little bit different, not too much into that. Not too much into that. Larry, yeah, it's about food quite a bit, isn't it? Yeah, we'll just, I always bring in an agenda and, maybe we'll get to all of it. Maybe we won't tonight. Sausages and potatoes, for example, and now I'm hungry. Sorry, Boston. Christy B, gotcha. Reuben sandwich, yum, I am hungry too. And Boston's posting pizza. What is that? Cheese, watermelon, ice cream, and cake. Okay. Moving on. This time last week, I was in the middle of converting everything over to Spotify. I'll have you know that everything has been converted over. 291 episodes. And I had to go through and put ad markers on all of them. I think it took me a total of about 25 hours total. That's why there was no episode last Friday. It just had to get done. I just wanted to get it out of the way. And plus, making a quick transition like that, you never know what problems you're going to run into. And I could get a little more familiar with the workflow and uploading files and everything. And so that's why there was no episode last Friday. It's very rare that we do that. I think the last time that happened was way back when my mother died. Unique circumstances, but everything's been transferred over. If you are in the target audience, this is how this all works. If you are in the target audience, then if you play any ads on if you go to iTunes or to Spotify, once again, here's one thing for all of you who do listen to Spotify, you're not going to have to worry about only getting half a file anymore. You remember how that was happening? How, it'd send it up to Podomatic, then it would get to Spotify, but a 2-hour episode will only have 1 hour. That's never going to happen again because the file would go directly to Spotify now. But I got all that done, and I've really familiarized myself with all the statistics and buttons and everything in there. And I'm glad that I took that time and didn't feel pressured to get that all done, putting out this Friday's episode last Friday, because I could have done it. The interview got done way back in February. So I could have technically posted this next episode last Friday, but I just didn't want to take the risk that something weird was going to happen, given that I'm with somebody new. So that's all done. And so if you are now listening to Unfound on Spotify or on iTunes or anywhere else, you may hear some ads at the beginning. There's one, there's probably going to be one before the interview starts and one after the interview is over, and there's one at the end. That's going to be commonplace now. That is going to be commonplace. So that is the big change. But once again, no ads in any interviews that I do with family members. Okay. Now I will say maybe, some of the bloggers, I might have taken a liberty there, but no ads in the middle of interviews that I do with family members. Not happening. Never happening. But that's what I can do. I can actually go into the timeline for any of and just pick out the spot where they'll be. It's kind of a new technology that is not offered anywhere else. And so that's why I decided to make the switch. I was not going to go with anything where they could just sprinkle in the ads anywhere they want. I get to decide how many ads are in each episode, and I get to decide where they are. So there you go. So the conversion is done. We'll see how it goes. I'm in a year contract, so I better like it. Boston says, going to the fridge right now. You're welcome. I did meet up with K-Dog. We had a great time. Great time. Debbie, thank you, Ed. I started watching that list. Okay. Okay, great, Debbie. You're welcome. Let's move on. Next Tuesday. Being that I was speaking about driving earlier in the program and how expensive gas and everything is, next Tuesday I will be speaking at Florida International University. Way down there in Miami. That's like a 4-hour and 10-minute drive, kind of, in the same area where Nova Southeastern is, but this is just a little farther because you have to go where Dr. Telesco is. You just go straight across and it's right there. Whereas Miami, to get down to that school, I have to go then a little south. So that will be next Tuesday. I'll be speaking there, just like I've spoken. I will bring my laptop with my PowerPoint presentation on it. Going to be speaking to a class of students, but then my understanding is after that, I will be speaking to an online class too, I think. Each of them is like an hour and 15 minutes, so very similar to what I've already done. And I do anticipate videoing the presentation to the class. And I'm even thinking about live streaming it. So we'll see. I'll let you know if that becomes a thing before next Tuesday. I think I can certainly do it. I can certainly use my phone, and that's really no problem. I have the technology to do that with YouTube. If I can do this for 2 hours, I can certainly do something for an hour and 15 minutes, but really haven't made a total decision on it. The nice thing about that is if you live stream it, then it's automatically recorded too, just like these are. So then I could download it once I got home, and if I wanted to splice it up or anything, I could do that. So it very well may be 5 p.m. next Tuesday, 5 p.m. Eastern time, that this channel right here might have a live stream of me from Florida International, or it might be limited to Patreon people, or it might be limited to membership people. So, they get the good stuff. So if you want to join at either place, now would be the time. So that's next Tuesday. I know that before next Tuesday, I'm going to have to probably work on my shtick a little bit, being that it's been since November that I did a presentation. Got to practice a little bit before I go down there. But, I'm always talking about this. I'm always writing about missing persons. And plus I'm not doing it off the top of my head. I have the PowerPoint there, but I'll still look through it and kind of go over each page. What am I saying here? What am I saying there? But I'm looking forward to it. Going to be down in the Miami area where I've never been before. I've been to the area like where Dr. Telesco, Nova Southeastern. I went to a concert right near there. But this is going down to Miami, and I've never been there. So we shall see. I'm not staying down there. The thing is, I'm going to be driving down there, doing these presentations, and then driving back. So I'll be getting back. I'll probably have to leave here at like 11 a.m. Make sure, in case there's any wrecks or anything. And I probably won't be done until like, 8:30. I'll probably get back here at like 1:30, 2 in the morning. But I don't go to bed. I don't go to bed till that time anyway. So it's no big deal. It's really no big deal. I can handle it. So Florida International, once again, building that resume, getting to know these professors, getting to know their curriculum, getting to know these criminal justice majors, and things that I can add to the resume as we move forward. Now, you should know, moving on to kind of a connected topic. Let me see what everybody's saying. Christy says, "Oh, the live streaming, do it. I would love to see it." Christy, I'm going to think about it. Charlotte, that would be good, Ed. Yes, it would. But kind of connected to that, I had my first conversation with my assistant, Eric Grabowski. Now, you should know that, maybe some of you know anyway, that Dr. Grabowski Dr. Eric Grabowski. He's a professor. He is a professor at Dickinson University or College in North Dakota. And I think I'm to the point, once again, I'm going to be doing at least, I think, one more presentation or maybe a few more. I could do a few more before this actual semester's over, I think. Just need to send out some emails. And then I know that I already have a couple scheduled for like next fall. So I'm actually going to start working on putting together an actual disappearance class that I could pitch to schools and actually become like what we would call an adjunct professor, in which I would do an entire semester regarding disappearances. And because Eric just conveniently is a professor and has been one for a long time, and not just a professor, but he's a doctor in his field of study, and he has experience with being presented with ideas for classes. And we talked about this. We had our first conversation last night about what it would take to put that together. Not so much what's going to actually, I'm of course going to come up what should be in the class, but what do you need? What kind of qualities do you need? What are universities, colleges looking for, or heads of departments looking for? What do you need to have in a presentation? What questions do you need to answer, and all of these things within a presentation that you would do, whether it has to do with disappearances or cooking or anything else. So we had a long conversation about that. In fact, he also sent me a long email regarding it. So that's what I think I'm also going to be working on. Now, you should know what's the nice thing about it is this could even be some sort of online class. So I would not have to be at Nova Southeastern, for example. I wouldn't have to live in the area to show up. Of course, I love the in-person. I love going to these schools. I love going to Louisiana. Love going down there, meeting Dr. Telesco, speaking to her class. Love it. And I know I'm going to love it next Tuesday as well. But from a more of a logistics point of view, this could be something that is just done online. So I would not be just strictly speaking to one school. I might be speaking to University A, doing the class on Monday nights for University A, and then doing the same class to University B on Tuesday nights, and then University C on Wednesday nights, and then go back to University A on Thursday or something. That's certainly possible. And that is something that sounds interesting to me. Of course, this is once again taking it to the next level, speaking engagements at these schools, speaking to criminal justice majors, and then the next step, creating a class where remote teaching. Yeah, Boston, that's right. Even though I love the in-class experience, I just do. I love looking the students in the eyes, seeing how they're reacting. It's just the best energy, but sometimes, that might not be possible. And not just, of course, COVID, it seems is going away, but sometimes it's just not logistically possible. And with technology we have today, and it does seem to me, my perception is that it's much easier to do college classes online than it is to do high school classes online. That's my perception. So then also that would go along with what I'm talking about here. Limes in a bag of pepperoni, Boston says. I'm not a lime guy either. I love the pepperoni though. Boston remote teaching. Yes. Wow. Interesting. Thank you, Christy. Just a reminder, Ed, if you could talk about your mother being in the film Silence of the Lambs real quick. All right. Screaming. All right. That's a good time. So that's what I'm working on. We're always working on things here. That's going to be something. It just came to me while I was up in Pennsylvania that I thought it was something that I need to work on. Let me do this 1 second. Seems like the battery on this computer is going to die. So let me Got it down to 19%. Let me click on display. Let me turn down display to get this to last a little bit longer. Yes, let's talk about my mother being in Silence of the Lambs. Screaming, here's how it happened. It must have been 1989. I had just become a freshman at Grove City College. Well, that fall is when they ended up filming a bunch of the movie Silence of the Lambs in the Pittsburgh, Western Pennsylvania. A large majority of that film is filmed in Western PA. Why? I don't know. But they ended up filming at a funeral home in a place called Rural Valley. And if there was ever a proper name for a place, it's that. It's certainly rural. It's certainly a valley. And that is the funeral scene where Jodie Foster goes in there. And that's where they were looking at the dead girl. And she has like these flashbacks to when her father died and seeing her father in the casket. That was all filmed at a funeral home in Rural Valley. My mother is an extra in that scene because they had to call out people in the area, show up, you get paid. I don't know what it was, maybe $50 or something. Show up, to be an extra in this film. My mother is in the film, and I will tell you exactly where she is. In that scene, they show the outside of the funeral home. It's like an establishing shot. And then the very next scene, there's a door on the left side of the screen, and the cops and Jodie Foster come through this door. It opens up, and they come walking in. My mother's standing on the other side of the door, and she has like a black fur coat on or something. And here's the thing. If you watch it, she looks right at the camera. She looks right at the camera in that scene. But that's my mother. And that's the only movie work she's ever done. That's the only movie she's ever been in as an extra. And what do you know? It won all those Academy Awards. And I can remember going to the theater when it came out and seeing my mother up on the screen. It was just crazy. So that's how she ended up being in it. Now, funny thing is, she went up there to get in this movie with a friend of hers. The friend of hers didn't get in the movie at all. My mother did. You should also know, I know another person in that scene. If you watch that scene, there's a guy walking around the funeral home who has he's wearing a suit and has a big mustache. He was, when I worked for my family in the car business in the mid 1990s, he was our used car salesman. That's who he was. So yeah, that is how she ended up in Silence of the Lambs. They had a call out for extras. My mother showed up and she got in that movie. Really crazy. So crazy. So I can go see her anytime I want. I have the DVD. Moving on. So yeah, there's that story. Unfound Now. It came out this past Sunday. Of course, if you are a member here, if you signed up for the membership, you got it last weekend. Steven Salazar picked that Disappearance out because, it really illustrates, I think, a lot of things that we talked about in 2021. Do people really just leave their cars and walk off? Do people really just jump into rivers? Do people do this? And guess what? They do. And there were witness to Steven Salazar being in this wreck, leaving his car, walking over to the bridge and jumping off the bridge into the water, and he hasn't been found yet. These things happen. So that is why I did that episode. I hope that you will watch it. Please give it a thumbs up. Please do that. Please, please, please. And I enjoy doing those for educational purposes. I realize they don't get a ton of views, but maybe we can start changing that. Moving on. What do I want to talk about next? I already talked about that. Let's go to this, being that, we only have 35 minutes left, but I surely want to talk about this. And I have to thank Cherie for letting me know about it. I have to admit, this just shows you how out of it I can be sometimes. I thought the Tara Grinstead stuff was done. I actually thought that both of those guys, Bo Dukes and Ryan Duke, actually had already had their trials and went to jail. That's how out of it I am. Now I find out that Bo Dukes has gone to jail, but Ryan Duke, his trial is just starting, and it was Cherie who alerted me to this just a few hours ago. I was like, "What? You mean it's not over?" It's not over. So I want to talk about it a little bit because we know that for a very long time, Tara Grinstead's case was a disappearance. And of course, her remains have still not been found. And I'll get into that. What's going on right now, if you don't know, is there's some pre-trial motions going on. And I think what it looks like to me is the prosecution, of course, has already convicted Bo Dukes. Now, what he is saying, he is trying to he has been convicted of getting rid of a body and cover up and everything. But in his trial, what he said was that Ryan Duke was the one who actually killed Tara. And so for this trial that's now going to be happening with Ryan Duke, the prosecution, of course, wants to use Bo Dukes as a witness, and the defense doesn't want that to happen. And they're right now it's, well, did he say these things about Ryan Duke just because he was going to get a deal? And so it's been like 2 days, and that's what's been going on. Bo Dukes, he is in jail. He's up there, not in orange suit, but like in a white prison outfit. And he took the stand today. Once again, there's no jury or anything, but he pled the fifth to all sorts of questions that Ryan Duke's attorney asked him. So that is what is going on. And, what's going to be tough about this, I think, is that the DNA that was on Tara is connected to Ryan Duke. There's no denying that he was there. Now, my guess, I guess he's going to try. I think probably what they're going to try to say is, no. Ryan, yes, Ryan's DNA is on Tara, but Bo Dukes is actually the one who killed her, not Ryan. They're going to try to pull something like that. And of course, Bo Duke's story is that Ryan Duke did this on his own, and then one got Bo, and then Bo helped him get rid of the body. That's his story. So Bo Dukes is saying, I wasn't even there for the murder. I wasn't even there. I'm sorry that I got caught up in all of this, but I had nothing to do with killing her. I tried to plead innocent, not guilty and all that. I got convicted. But you have to believe me, I was not there when she was murdered. I was not there when whatever he did, he did. It seems to me that Ryan Duke's attorneys are going to try to say that Bo Dukes did everything. Or they're going to say, yeah, Ryan was with her, but he didn't kill her. And so maybe they're trying to get Ryan the same sort of deal or same kind of charges that Bo Dukes got. We'll see how it goes. But like I said, I thought this was all done. I already thought both these guys were in jail and already been convicted. Like I said, if it's not unfound work, true crime stuff, disappearance stuff, then I'm not paying much attention to it unless I'm going to talk about it on like this live show. The Real says, I'm upgraded to about half the extras in Moby Dick. That's kind of neat. The Real. Charlotte, how can they tell which one is telling the truth? I don't know, Charlotte. Christy, but wasn't it Bo's truck? Yes. Ryan got Bo, and Bo brought his truck, and they allegedly put her in her, and then I'll get to that in a moment. And his family's property? Yes. Michelle, I would love for you to watch these videos by this other podcaster. These are videos of a case you have previously spoke on. Michelle, if you tell me what it is, I'll certainly try to check it out, or I'll at least get one of my assistants or Cherie or somebody to check it out. Thank you, Michelle. But we have to remember something. Now, what they're saying is that they burned her. And what I've seen is that they said it took 2 days. And Cherie and I were having this texting back and forth before the live show started tonight. I think all of you now know how I feel about when people say, yeah, I burned a body to ash. It's tough. Now, I know what they're saying. Well, it took us 2 days. Well, I would like to hear what they did to burn her body. Now, before you start thinking, well, they just set up like some, what they would call a funeral pyre, a bunch of logs and wood and put her in it. The human body's not going to burn in that to ash. Once again, just for my knowledge, I looked it up tonight. You need 1,600 degrees. If you're wondering what it takes to be cremated, if you're planning to be cremated, your remains after you leave this earth, in a crematorium, a place that is built to turn people into ash, 1,600 degrees for 2 to 3 hours. And that is a machine that is made to do that. A wood fire only gets up to 1,100 degrees. Not even close. You need 500 more degrees. So you need 40% more, I guess would you say it, 40% more energy to even think about burning a body. So how did they do it? Now you could have, maybe they went and got a torch. Torches like a butane torch or a torch for welding, they can get up into the 2,000 some degrees. What I want to hear about is if they're going to say, or Bo Dukes, whoever the one that's convicted is going to say, yeah, we burned the body. Have they ever come out? Has that come out? In the trial, is there a transcript? If so, I want to hear how they exactly did that. We ran into this with Teresa Butler's disappearance. You might remember that from last year or the year before. She went missing, and then just recently in the last couple of years, law enforcement seemingly pinned it on this guy, but he says, yeah, I did it, but she's gone now. I turned her body into ash, and I dumped it all off in this, a ditch by the road. That's what this guy said. Of course, he said that he stashed the body stashed Teresa's body underneath his house for a while, then took her back out, and then did all this. But it doesn't sound to me like he was very specific about this. Because you can't just say, you know what, I started a fire, threw her on there, and in a few hours she was gone. That wouldn't work. This is the reason that we know what happens in fires. House fires, apartment fires, business fires, nightclub fires, where people are burned. Those fires do not destroy bodies. Of course, they kill people. People usually die due to smoke inhalation. But for being burned, they're still there. The skeletons and even skin and hair, it's still there, no matter how long that fire burns. Why? Because those types of fires don't burn hot enough to start disintegrating bone. So what did Bo Dukes, if we're to believe they both did this together, what exactly did Bo Dukes and Ryan Duke do? There's another factor in all of this. They didn't do this in some enclosed place where you could keep the heat up. That's the advantage that a crematorium has. As you know, it's no different, not to get morbid, but it's no different than when you're grilling. What do? When you put the steaks on the grill, you don't leave the thing open. What do? You heat it up. You got the fire going, got the coals going. You got your T-bones on there. You close it. Why? It keeps the heat in. Because it cooks faster. It burns better. These guys didn't do that. Anything that they would have been doing, that heat would just been going out into the air. Now, they say it took them 2 days. Well, what were they Did nobody notice that they were gone? Do they not have jobs? Did they have torches? What exactly were they doing to burn Tara's body? I would like to know. Now, I'm not saying the information isn't out there. I just haven't seen it. Because I'm telling you, I get very, very suspicious when people start saying, yeah, well, the body was burned and it was all gone. I start getting, thinking that's probably not what happened. So there's that. Now, you should know that Payne Lindsay, of course, from Up and Vanished, the podcaster who, has become very famous because of all of this. He was on Court TV. He actually showed up there. They talked to him for a little bit. And it's interesting that even he says he's not sure what happened that night. He's not sure what to believe. Did Bo Dukes do this by himself? Was it actually Bo Dukes that actually murdered Tara and not Ryan? And Payne even had a quote, nice people kill people too. He's right. Can't argue with that. I think we've certainly learned that on Unfound, that a lot of these disappearances, like of wives, they were probably made to disappear by guys who have no criminal records. So that is certainly true. But I thought it was interesting that even Payne, who has been living this murder since 2016, is not, he can't even figure out what exactly happened. To me, that sounds like a bad deal for the prosecution. I'm thinking that Ryan Duke probably is going to get prosecuted anyway because of his DNA and everything. But I think that we have to get very comfortable with the idea right now that we may never know what actually happened. This is kind of like Austin Peevo's. We know that those three guys killed him, but we also know that the stories that they told during their trials were crap. So we still don't know. We're never going to know what happened. The step by step that caused him to be murdered. And it very well may be, despite all of the coverage that Tara Grinstead's case has gotten, the coverage, everything, we may not know. It may just be that Bo Dukes is in jail for however long, maybe the rest of his life. Ryan Duke gets convicted. He goes to jail for however long, and we're still not clear what happened. And we may not even believe that they or one of them burned her at all. So, just prepare yourselves for that. Prepare yourselves. I know we want really, really clear-cut answers, and we want, to be very specific in all of that. It just doesn't sound like that's the direction it's going with this. It seems like there's a lot of stuff up in the air, finger pointing, taking the fifth, and that usually gets in the way of, finding out precisely what happened. We're not sure. For example, just give you some examples. And I've read these. These are not things that I've come up with, but just after Sheree told me about it, did as much quick reading as I could. It very well could be that these two guys met her out that night and went back to her place together. Now, Bo Duke's story is that Ryan Duke told him that Ryan went over to her house, got in with a credit card, and ended up strangling her. Maybe. But there's no facts to support that. There's no facts to support that. And that's why it very well could be that she went home with them, that they didn't force anything on her. She invited them back to her place. Or maybe they did force her. Or maybe it was somewhere in between. Or maybe there's so many details that are still unclear in this murder that we may never know. So, of course, I can still remember when Tara Grinstead's disappearance was really, 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 clueless. Everybody was clueless about it. Her car was there. There was this, what was it? A surgical glove that was out. Once again, I've not looked over any of the facts and everything forever, but there was a surgical glove out in the front yard. I think her dogs were there, or her dog was there unharmed. There was a lamp that was toppled over or something, and like the sheets of the bed had been taken off or something like that. I know that she had been at a barbecue earlier that day, and there was a story that maybe she went out somewhere. She was looking for some ex-boyfriend who was in town, and there were stories out there that did she talk to her family about being lonely and being single and being lonely or something like that? And so people were thinking, did she go somewhere and meet some stranger? The wrong guy went back to her place and something happened. That's still possible, except those people might be Bo Dukes and Ryan Duke. So there you go. Leanne says, hope everyone is doing well tonight. I'm doing well. Lee, everybody else will have to speak for themselves, but everybody, a lot of people are in here tonight, so I appreciate it. So that's Tara Grinstead. It looks like a lot of it's going to be on Court TV. If I have the time, I will try to keep up with it. But I think if I don't, I think Cherie will be following it. Pretty sure. And maybe she'll give me updates. So getting back to some of this, what else? FindJody.com has a new episode out. I've not listened to it yet, but I understand it has something to do with the video that was taken inside of Jody's apartment after she went missing, I think. Maybe I'll listen to it tonight before I go to bed, before I go to sleep. But you know how much respect I have, admiration I have for the people over at FindJody.com, all the great work they're doing over there. So if there is a true crime podcast that I could recommend to everybody, it would be that one. It's like on episode 30 or something like that. They get as deep, of course, deeper than anybody else regarding Jody's disappearance. Of course, Caroline Lowe was on Unfound back in 2020. It was 2.5 hour interview. If you want the short version, I guess that's the short version. If you want the long version, go to findjody.com, or it's on Spotify and everywhere else. But that new episode's out, and I will surely listen to it. Anything else? Let's take this other question from Kathy. I don't know if Kathy's in here tonight. Maybe she'll tune in, watch the replay. But she asked me, and she goes, and she apologized for asking this if it hadn't been asked before, but I'll answer it again. I don't mind. Kathy says, I'm sure you're probably answered this, so I apologize if you have. But at what point did you decide you wanted to speak for the missing, and what inspired you to do so? Kathy, I would not say that I speak for the missing. I know that's the way you typed it, but just so you understand that that's not really the way I see myself. In fact, it's the opposite. I allow them to speak for themselves. If I was speaking for them, I guess it would be a podcast where I was telling all of you about the disappearance. Whereas, Kathy, I just let them talk. I continue to say that I am not. Lou is saying the audio is bad. We must be having some sort of. Maybe it's me. Maybe I have to pay more attention to the microphone or something. Maybe I'll try this. Maybe it's the microphone itself. Okay, so maybe we're having an internet problem. I'll just have to work through it. Hopefully it'll come back. Kathy, what I would say is that, it's must be having a small internet problem tonight. I'm just going to keep going, and luckily it's only the last 15 minutes. But I just let them speak, Kathy. That's all I do. I'm there to make sure that I guide the conversation, and I don't know what it is. Don't know. It seems like we have it cuts every other word off. Maybe it'll come back. If it doesn't, I can't do anything about it. And sorry about this. It's fine now, Sheree. Okay, thank you, Sheree. I just let them speak. I try to get as educated on a disappearance as I can. I continue to say it. I am never going to be an expert on any one particular disappearance. There's always going to be people who know more about any disappearance out there. Always. But my job is to learn enough to be a good interviewer. So when they're on the program, I know what questions to ask. I know which way to guide the conversation, put the outline in a way to make sure all of you understand everything that needs to be understood. And so I just let them talk. They pre-approve of everything that is covered in any interview, and then they get to talk for as long as they want. So I don't say, I allow them to speak, and I think they like doing it that way because, as they will admit themselves, that sometimes they, when they do maybe do another interview somewhere else, they can get a little rambling and they forget what to say and everything. When you interview with me, we rarely forget anything, because it's right there in the outline. I've already gone through it. It's right in front of my face. And if we haven't covered it yet, and it's going to get covered. It's going to get covered. And so that's what they want. So as far as what's inspired me to do so, I've just always been interested in disappearances. And all the technology came together. The internet started. Podcasting became a thing. All these different podcast platforms and YouTube and everything else. And then that part of it, the interest went with the technology. And then my personal background of speaking and all that stuff, it all just came together. But I just want to be clear that, I guess I speak for every guest as a whole when I'm talking about disappearances and what they go through and everything else. I'm certainly have them all on my mind when I do the presentations at schools, certainly, because a lot of things of what they have told me and what they've experienced is in that presentation. But when it comes to them being on the program, they do all the talking, and I'm more than happy to sit back. And this is, it's weird. Once in a while, I'll get it, and I know they're trolls, so I shouldn't take them seriously. But once in a while, I'll happen to run into, although I'm never looking for reviews, but I'll run a review. He talks too much. Everyone, I talk less than any other true crime podcaster out there. I talk less than any of them. Why? Because it's an interview program. The guest does most of the talking. I talk for the first 8 minutes. I talk for like the last 5 minutes. But these episodes are 2 hours long, and everything in between that hour and 40 minutes, the guest is doing most of the talking. So it's always weird. He talks too much. Okay. So that's how it all happened, Kathy, but that's a great question. Thank you. Thank you, Julie. Some people seem to be having, Julie, thank you. Some people seem to be having issues. Some people seem not to be having issues. Maybe it's just certain areas of the United States or somewhere or elsewhere that's giving problems. I don't know. So luckily we're almost done anyway. So I'm just going to keep forging ahead. And here's what I know. I'm sure this is recording fine. So if you're missing this last part, if it's out, you can just go back, and all you have to do is watch the last 20 minutes. So let's get to this Friday's episode. All right. Boston's saying she can hear. I don't know what to tell you. I wasn't getting any of those little circles going on or anything. So I'm not sure what's going on. But this Friday is the disappearance of Mark Heimbaugh. Thank you, Easily. Hey, Easily coming in from Chicago. What's going on in Chicago, Easily? That's, I think, your first comment tonight. Good to see you, by the way. How are things in Chicago? That's another city that I've only seen the airports. This Friday is Mark Heimbaugh. This is a big episode. For a few reasons. One, the interview is about 2 hours and 50 minutes. So you better get comfortable. In addition, there will be a map video right here on this YouTube channel. And it's fairly complex. It's like a 16-minute map video, but this is a disappearance where understanding the locations, the routes, the paths, where things were seen, where things were found, is so important. And I know I'm still probably going to be disappointed by how many people view it, but I'm still going to do the video anyway. This is a young man, 11-year-old, who disappeared from Delhaven, New Jersey, which is down there on the southern end of New Jersey, on November 25th, 1991. He was at home with his mother after school, and she had to take a friend of hers to go get this person's car from the mechanic. A brush fire had broken out near the house, and Mark's mother, Maureen, gave him permission to go check it out. Of course, don't get too close. So he goes out there, and she's expecting, well, I'm going to be on for a little while. I'll come back. Then he'll come back, and they had plans for that evening. She goes out. She comes back. Mark's not there. And in fact, he never comes home again. And of course, this disappearance is still here, still unsolved over 30 years later. But during that time that she was gone, Mark was seen. There was a beach very close to there. He walked down the beach to get close to the fire. And what was going on because of this fire, there was this big traffic jam. And so all these people in this traffic jam saw Mark walking by their cars, etc. But still, he never came home. And it's this little beach village, not on it. It's not on the Atlantic Ocean side. They're actually on the side that's kind of, what is it, Chesapeake Bay or whatever, that eventually turns into the Delaware River. It's where the Delaware River empties out, that goes to the Atlantic, is kind of where this part of New Jersey, Delhaven, New Jersey. And so this little boy went missing. His shoe was found on the beach. But what ended up happening was that a couple years later, there is a pedophile. His name is Tom Butkabbage, who was having had some male prostitute come up to his place. And this male prostitute alleges that they were watching a sex tape, and it was of Tom Butkabbage having sex with Mark Heimbaugh. And because it was a well-known disappearance in New Jersey, and this is where Tom Butkabbage was and where this prostitute was, that this prostitute then ended up going to the police and saying that he saw this. And so they went to Tom Butkabbage's place, but this tape was never found. Now, what is interesting about this is there is a connection between Tom Butkabbage and Mark Heimbaugh's father. What are the odds? You are going to have to process that and a whole bunch else of information. I'm telling you, it's going to be tough. It's going to be very, very difficult. Now, on top of that, besides this interview being 2 hours and 50 minutes long, I have a personal connection to this disappearance because a woman that I was dating back, it is a funny name, Tom Butkabbage. That's his name, Julie. A woman that I was dating back in 2003 was a filmmaker. She still is. She's originally from New Jersey, and she attempted to do a documentary regarding Mark's disappearance back in the mid-1990s. She did a lot of work, and then the FBI took all of it. And she knows now, and I'm still friends with her, she knows that this episode is coming out this Friday. And she told me that it was really tough doing that. She became, in trying to do this documentary, she became fearful for her life because of what she believed happened to Mark. And that she believes to this day that this is part of some huge child sex trafficking ring, child pedophilia ring. She still believes that all these years later. But her information is still with the FBI, and I've tried to talk her into filling out the paperwork to trying to get it back from the FBI. She won't do it because this is how much it bothered her back then. So I'm going to also tell my own personal story of how back in 2003, she had told me about how she had worked on this. And now these years later, 19 years later, I'm covering Mark's disappearance on my own podcast. Of course, podcasting wasn't even a thing in 2003. It's just weird how these things work out. So I will be talking about that in the summation. Now you're wondering, well, who is the guest? Well, the guest is another huge part of this. His name is Rich McHale. He was an investigator regarding Mark's disappearance at one time, not when it originally happened, but like in the late 2000s, like 2007 to 2009. He tried to talk to Tom Butkabbage, but Tom said, no, you can just talk to my lawyer. He has talked to Mark Heimbaugh's father. He had an interview with him. Rich has spoken to many people who were spoken to back in 1991. And he's actually written a book that just came out recently. And that's kind of what egged me on to say, you know what? I think it's time to cover Mark's disappearance for Unfound. And I've actually been speaking to Rich since 2017. And so he's finally going to be on the program. And he has written a book. You can check it out. It's on Amazon. It is called, do I have it here? Did I bring it over here? Hold on a second. Did I bring it over here? I know it was here somewhere. Is it here? Hold on a second. I thought I brought it over here. Maybe I took it over in the other room. It's called Where is Mark? The Abduction of Mark Heimbaugh. So you can already see the direction of what Rich as an investigator thinks. But as always, I'm going to leave it up to all of you. I have to be honest, I'm not so clear that it was an abduction. Now, my ex-girlfriend, who I'm still friends with, she, of course, thinks it was an abduction. Rich thinks it was an abduction. A lot of people who know this disappearance think it's an abduction. The issue, though, is to think that it's an abduction, it gets very, very complicated very, very fast. And that's why the title of this episode is going to be Questioning Complexity. And the theme is, so many times we think a disappearance is very complex, but then when it's solved, really whatever happened was really not that tricky. So there you go. It's going to be very interesting on the think tank for Sunday night. It's really going to be interesting. I'm sure Rich is in the discussion group on Facebook. So if you want to talk to him, he's there. I'm sure he'd love to talk to you back and forth when the time comes. So that's this Friday. I think it's a great episode to start my contract with Spotify. It's an episode that's going to be about, I think, 3.5 hours long. And it's been a long time coming. And I'm glad Rich could join us on the program. Once again, Mark Heimbaugh, he disappeared from Delhaven, New Jersey, November 25th, 1991. He was 11 years old. The guest is investigator and author Rich McHale. I'll be talking about my own personal experience with the case. And the title of it is Questioning Complexity. So what's everybody familiar with the story? Let's go back up here. Yeah, you are good now. Okay. Much love from New Zealand. Hello, another New Zealand person. We got an Australian and a New Zealander. Okay, Major. Thank you for tuning in. Maybe it's her first time. Thank you. Easily says, nice. Looking forward to dyeing the river this weekend. Oh yeah, for St. Patrick's Day. I have to say, Easily, I'm not much of an Irishman. I don't, not really much into it, but I hope you have a fantastic time this weekend or next weekend or whenever it is, March 17th, right? Charlotte says she's familiar with the story, waiting for the episode. Boston is, Charlotte's leaving. Boston looking forward to it. Funny name, true. Leanna, remember Tara Grinstead's case when it happened? I do remember the gloves. Such a mystery. Yeah, Tara Grinstead's, that's true. Jasmine, I'm having a great week. She's leaving. I think there's more than one Aussie in here today, actually. I love hearing that. We'll take all the Aussies we can get on this live show, The Real. I'm guessing now, the real your dinner is done. I hope your steak was really good. Hope it's good. But that's all I got. Plus, my computer over here is dying anyway. So we're going to call it a night. It's 11 o'clock anyway. Great show tonight. I did not get to everything I wanted to talk about, but that's fine. Once again, give a video a thumbs up. You see all these people with the green names. Become a member. The join button is right here. And if you're watching and you are not a subscriber, I even have a new button right here. You want to be a subscriber? Please subscribe. Get in with this channel. You're going to love it. What do we talk about? Ukraine, disc golf, lost a few pounds, gas and food being extraordinarily expensive, Ben-Hur, Sherry Papini, Spotify, next Tuesday speaking, working on a class curriculum, Unfound Now, did not get to that. Talked about membership and Patreon, talked about meeting K-Dog. K-Dog, I hope you enjoyed the show tonight. Talked about Fine Jody, Tara Grinstead, took some spectacular questions, then finished it up talking about Mark Heimbaugh this Friday's episode. That's it. I'm done. Great show tonight. I'm sorry about the audio issues, but I don't think it was my fault. But if you kind of was garbled, you can go back and watch the replay for the last 20 minutes of it, because it records right off of my computer. And so it should be fine if you couldn't understand what I was saying. So good night, everyone. I hope everybody has a spectacular rest of your week, and keep your head on a swivel. Good night.